The Liberty Foundation Gala sparkled under the chandeliers of a grand ballroom in downtown Washington, D.C. Marble floors reflected the golden light. Guests in tuxedos and shimmering gowns sipped champagne, their laughter blending with the clink of glasses. Politicians rubbed elbows with media moguls, celebrities posed for photos. Waiters glided through the crowd, offering trays of delicate hors d'oeuvres. The air buzzed with formality, yet a subtle tension simmered beneath the surface. Everyone knew this night mattered. At the edge of the room, Barron Trump sat quietly. 18 years old, tall and lean, he wore a tailored blue suit that fit him perfectly. His posture was relaxed, almost slouched, but his eyes stayed sharp. He watched the scene unfold with a calm that seemed out of place among the chatter. His father, Donald Trump, sat a few tables away, surrounded by admirers. The former president, now back in the spotlight, flashed his signature grin. Barron didn't join in. He just observed. The evening's main event approached. Lee Harper, a journalist known for his biting commentary, stepped up to the podium. The spotlight caught his black tuxedo, making him the center of attention. The crowd hushed, settling into their seats. Harper adjusted the microphone, a smirk tugging at his lips. He began. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Liberty Foundation Gala," he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "A night where we celebrate freedom, opportunity, and of course, the dynasties that shape our nation. Tonight, we're in the shadow of one such dynasty, the Trump family." Murmurs rippled through the audience. Some nodded. Others leaned forward, eager for the jab they knew was coming. Harper didn't disappoint. "For years, Donald Trump has painted himself as a champion of the working class," Harper continued. "A businessman who turned dreams into gold. But let's be honest, his hands have been deep in the pockets of hardworking Americans, pulling out every dime he could, and now we see the torch passing to the next generation, Barron Trump." The room shifted. Eyes darted toward Barron's table. He didn't flinch. His gaze stayed locked on Harper, steady and unreadable. "Barron Trump," Harper said, raising a finger for emphasis. "A young man with the world at his feet. Why? Simple. He was born a Trump. I wonder, folks, how much of his success is really his own? How much is just the privilege of that name? Because let's face it, the Trump legacy isn't exactly built on sweat and grit. It's built on branding, bravado, and a whole lot of inherited cash." Laughter broke out, sharp and knowing. Guests exchanged glances. Harper's confidence grew. He leaned closer to the microphone. "But Barron's different, isn't he said. "A quieter Trump, maybe. A little more polished. Still, I can't help but think his father's shadow will carry him through life. One day he might wake up and realize that Trump isn't a golden ticket. It's an anchor, one that drags him straight into the swamp of hypocrisy and greed his family's known for." The chuckles grew louder. Harper basked in it, his smirk widening. He thought he'd won the room. He was wrong. A chair scraped against the marble floor. Barron stood. The sound cut through the noise like a blade. Heads turned. Glasses stopped clinking. The ballroom fell silent. Barron didn't rush. He straightened his jacket, smoothed a hand through his hair, and started walking. His steps echoed, deliberate and firm. He moved toward the podium, his expression calm but resolute. Harper's smirk faltered. Barron reached the stage. He didn't ask for the microphone. He took it. Harper stepped aside, unsure. The spotlight shifted, bathing Barron in light. For a moment, he said nothing. He scanned the room, his blue eyes piercing through the crowd. Guests shifted in their seats. Then he spoke. "Mr. Harper," Barron began, his voice steady and clear. "You seem to think a name defines a person. That wealth, family, legacy, those are the only things that matter. You look at me and see a Trump, nothing more. You assume my life's been handed to me on a silver platter. Maybe you're right about some of that. I won't deny it." He paused. The silence stretched. Every eye stayed on him. "But here's where you're wrong," he said. "My father didn't build his life by stepping on people. He built it by seeing what others couldn't. Opportunities, ideas, risks. He took them. He made something out of them. Yes, I've benefited from that. I'm not blind to it. But you act like that's the whole story. It's not. A murmur stirred, faint but growing. Barron pressed on. You talk about privilege like it's a crime, he said. Like I should apologize for being born who I am. I won't. Privilege isn't the problem. What you do with it is. You, Mr. Harper, you've got a platform, a voice. Thousands listen to you. And what do you do with it? You tear people down. You twist their lives into something ugly, something small, all for a laugh, all for a headline. Harper gripped the edge of the podium, his knuckles whitened. Barron didn't waver. You've turned my father into a cartoon, Barron said. A punching bag for your clever little lines. Now you're trying to do the same to me. Why? Because we come from money? Because we don't fit your idea of what success should look like? That's your failure, not ours. The room held its breath. Barron's voice grew firmer, cutting through the stillness. I'm not here to defend my father's every choice, he said. He doesn't need me to. I'm here to tell you this. My name doesn't own me. My life isn't some script I follow. I get to choose who I am, what I stand for. And I'll tell you what I won't stand for. People like you, hiding behind words, pretending you're above it all, you're not. He stepped closer to the edge of the stage. His gaze swept the crowd again. Success isn't about where you start, he said. It's about what you build. Character isn't about your last name, it's about your choices. I'm not ashamed of mine, I'm not ashamed of my family, and I'm not here to play your game. Barron set the microphone down. The click echoed. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, a single clap broke the silence. Another followed. Soon the sound swelled. Guests stood, applauding. Not everyone, but enough. The tide had turned. Harper stood frozen, his face pale. Barron didn't look at him. He stepped off the stage, his posture straight. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions, their voices overlapping. Barron, what's next for you? Do you agree with your father's policies? What do you believe in? He didn't answer. He kept walking. Donald Trump watched from his table. A small smile curved his lips. He stood brushing off his jacket and met Barron near the exit. They exchanged no words, just a nod. Together, they left the ballroom. The applause faded behind them. Outside, the night air hit cool and sharp. Barron stopped, hands in his pockets, staring at the city lights. Donald clapped a hand on his shoulder. You did good, kid, Donald said, his voice low. Real good. Barron nodded, a faint smile breaking through. Thanks, Dad. The gala went on inside. Guests returned to their drinks, their chatter. But something had shifted. The questions lingered in the air. Who was Barron Trump really? Not just a name, not just a shadow. A voice. One that had spoken, clear and strong, and left the room changed. The next morning, headlines buzzed. Barron Trump steals the show. A new Trump takes the stage. Reporters scrambled for interviews. Pundits debated his words. Some praised him. Others picked him apart. But one thing was clear. Barron had stepped out of the background. He'd made his mark. Back at home, he sat alone, scrolling through the coverage on his phone. A text popped up from his mother, Melania. Proud of you, it read. He smiled, setting the phone down. The world could say what it wanted. He knew who he was, and he was just getting started.